one of the more popular figures in social circles, in social media circles. Ladies and gentlemen, the Labour, of course, the Labour Party won the elections and they won in a big way. And many persons, including myself, foresaw that. We thought that Labour would win. A lot of us did not expect Labour would win so convincingly, with such a massive distance between Labour and its rivals. And we're here today to listen to one of the independent candidates. He was on my show just before the election, you remember, that's Kalonji. He's on a number of shows. And I remember pointing out to him that independent candidates over the years have not done well. Matter of fact, if one looks at all the independent candidates who would have run for political office since independence, the total number of votes hardly approximates 300. The total number of votes for all independent candidates over all those many elections. We've had 10 elections since independence. And we did tell Kalonji that those are the statistics, that's the reality up against which he was going. And of course, he went ahead and contested. We had the People's Action Movement, of course, one of the major parties in St. Kitts for a number of years. But what did we find? That PAM did not do very well. Some argue PAM did not do well at all. And we noted, we pointed out to you already, that the PAM party, 3 of its candidates did so poorly they did not recover their deposits. Neither did one of the PLP candidates. Neither did any of the independent candidates. I'm looking for that bit of information here. Sorry?
Can you repeat that important information?
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to get back to it in a minute.
I would like to know who the ones.
Yes. So we have with us today a representative from the People's Action Movement, an intelligent, articulate, if you ask me, steeped in his particular field, a guy with whom I'm proud to associate. I've always been impressed by his academic proficiency. That's Azad Gums, and a lot of us saw him as a rising star in the PAM circles. So we have Ras Kalonji, we have Azad, and we have Craig Tuckett. Craig Tuckett, of course, of PLP fame. You would have seen him on the night of the elections. I think that would have been the last time you would have heard him on ZIZ Radio, when we were doing some analyses, and he was representing the PLP at that event. So was Azad, by the way.
The People's Action Movement.
Well, I mean, he was on the show, but representing the People's Action Movement.
Yes.
Thanks for that bit of clarity.
No
As
problem.
deputy chair.
Right.
Yes, as the deputy chairman.
So we are going to hear from them today. We want to talk about what are the implications of the results. Was such a loss expected by PAM and or PLP? What factors do they think contributed or predisposed to that loss of such a magnitude? And we want to hear about what are their plans, if they are so authorized to speak, what are some of the plans that they have going forward? So we're going to hear from Ras Kalonji, we're going to hear from Azad, and we're going to hear from Craig in that order. Kalonji, take it away.
Thank you, Brother Blake. Just like to say greetings to all the people listening to ZIZ. It's very beautiful, hot and sunny morning here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Our people here at home, all the Africans that are here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and those listening via the internet, those in the diaspora. I'd just like to say basically, I'll give a shout out and a hero to all the people who voted for me here in the Federation. I'd just like to, thank them for taking the time out to go into the polls and supporting an independent candidate. And as the United Lion Megan Party, we're just saying this is the first step, because just before I came here, I met a brother. He said next time around he'll be joining me. So next time around we'll have a full slate of candidates.
Okay.
We just wetting our foot, as we will say here in the Federation, because we understand what is taking place not only here in the Federation but what is happening globally, because what is happening globally at this particular time have a serious impact upon Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. When we look at the geopolitics that is taking place, a lot of people don't understand what is happening, especially with what is taking place between Russia and Ukraine. Basically, I see it as a fight against fascism in Ukraine. You understand? A lot of people might not agree with me, but I have all the facts to back that up. 4 ministers of the government of Ukraine are Nazis. The Speaker of the House is a Nazi. Now, in the Second World War, the United States joined with the Soviet Union to fight Nazism, which was in Germany. It was a...
You're going to tie all that into local politics? Okay.
Yeah, because what I'm saying to you is that our message basically as the United Lion Eagle Party, we want our people to come together. Because if we stay divided, the impact of the geopolitics can have a very serious impact upon us. Now look at this now. Mr. Blinken, the Secretary of State of
Anthony
the United
Blinken,
States in
yes.
South Africa. And I think she's the foreign minister. No, the foreign minister of South Africa.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She gave him a tongue lashing because what he's basically saying to Africans on the continent, and Africans everywhere, you have to join us against the fight against Russia. And basically, our people have to have the proper analysis. We can't have a paralysis of analysis. Because in the liberation struggle in Africa, the only 2 countries, just 3 countries that supported those struggles was Russia, China, and Cuba.
So the United Lion Eagle Party, its platform was basically to
bring our people together.
Try to get our locals here in St. Kitts and Nevis together.
Not only here, but throughout the diaspora.
Right, but starting here, you know, you have to dance at home before you dance abroad.
Exactly.
We are very familiar with that. And clearly, a lot of people didn't understand or accept that message, and so your party did poorly, very badly in the latest poll. Now, are you suggesting that even if there are or were fascists in the UK, in the Ukrainian government, that justifies Russia's action against them? Are you suggesting that?
But basically, because what I'm saying is that NATO, you ever heard of the Budapest Summit?
So, just a minute, any country that has, in your definition or in your understanding, fascists or racists in their government deserves to be attacked and invaded and their country destroyed and so on by another power?
But hear this now.
But does that one against...
NATO is just a proxy for the United States. When the Soviet Union was dissolved under Gorbachev, they made a deal that none of the former Soviet republics should join NATO. Right? Now, the United States have been funding Ukraine and offering them to join NATO. So that poses a threat to the Russian Republic. And Gorbachev told them that, the one after Gorbachev and Putin. It's just like what happened with the Cuban Missile Crisis.
So just a minute, because I think I don't want us to get too far with Ukraine. I want us to focus here. Your party did badly, and you're suggesting that, I am suggesting that it did poorly because according to your program, according to your policy, according to your principles that you espouse, and I'm not so sure how well they were disseminated and propagated, people did not join that bandwagon. And so your results were absolutely insignificant with respect to the total tally. You're now saying that what is happening in Ukraine is somehow related to what is happening here.
No, not what I'm saying.
Because I wanted to focus and zero in on what's happening here. Why did your party did not do well?
Listen what I'm saying to you. I'm not going to approach it from that standpoint. I'm saying whoever the government is right now.
In St. Kitts? Yeah. In the Federation.
The Labour Party. We have to make a serious effort to bring our people together because there's a financial meltdown coming in the global economy.
Okay. So
wait, let me finish. So what I'm saying to you, whoever the Labour Party is in power right now, I'm saying make a serious effort to bring our people together. All this division that we have, you got to try your best in order to stamp it out.
Okay.
Because what is facing us, we could look at the COVID situation. COVID was thrust up on the world because the global financial crisis collapsed.
Okay.
Okay? In March 2020. Now, what I'm trying to show you now is that all of us was locked down under the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no difference between us. So what I'm saying to you now, moving forward in terms of the Labour Party governing, want to bring our people together, have a message of inclusion, because the threat that is facing us is very serious.
Okay, thank you.
So even though we didn't do well in the poll, what we are saying, the governing party, you know, we say, you know, we give them, because they won the poll, so we're saying that we're bigging them up. So we're saying, moving forward now, bring our people together. We don't want no more division, because the threat that is, what we face right now is very serious.
Okay, you and your party are prepared to work with the current administration to effect that desire?
Any party.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We're going to open the lines after we've heard from each of our guests, and we're going to see how many persons follow your argument and how many agree or disagree.
Thank you, Mr.
Is that over to you?
First, let me say pleasant morning to all of those listening via and viewing via the different media platforms. To everyone here, I extend to each of you. You know, we're on the opposite sides in different parties.
For the time being.
For the time being. But I just want to say welcome as well. Mr. Blake, just for you to repeat the question that you would have asked at the beginning of the program for us to.
Yeah, I'm saying
To focus on.
the results show that the Labour Party won over 14,000 votes.
Yes.
The PAM party less than 5,000.
Yes.
And the PLP party just a little, 5,000 more or less. Now that's a serious beating, whichever direction you look at it, whether you look at it historically. Now, in and of its own sake, those are serious numbers.
Yes, it is.
But when you look at the historical antecedents, when you weave those antecedents, you find that it's even more stark. Because just 2 years ago, PAM would have performed, the unity construct, and PAM in particular, would have done much, much better a mere 2 years ago. So the question is, were there signposts, were there markers along the way that pointed to this defeat of such a scale? What, in your view, in your party's view, contributed to this serious rout? And what are your plans going forward? Before you respond or continue your response, let me just remind that as the results. Oh boy, I just said it here. Sorry about that.
Because they're losing the deposit.
Yes. Oh goodness. Forgive me, ladies and
And
gentlemen.
those persons who lose
just said it
deposit,
here.
you have to get less than 1/8 of the.
I have to get more than 1/8.
Yeah, two.
Okay, carry on, because
Yeah.
I had it here and I lost it.
So let me say this. Congratulations to the St. Kitts Nevis
Ah,
Labour Party. As you said before, what could have contributed? Well, we realized that in 2020 and 2015, the People's Action Movement was successful at the polls, gaining 4 seats each. We recognize that in 2020 we lost one, but we gained one. And so going into 2022, we recognize that there was some sort of disagreement, some fraction between the unity, and as a result, the People's Action Movement and the CCM left the PLP and joined together as one movement. I still believe that the message that we gave was a message that was promising to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. We recognize that on election day, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis would have voted otherwise when it comes to the majority of votes. And so it gives us an opportunity now, Mr. Blake, to listen to the people on the ground. It gives us the opportunity to rebuild our party, to look at the mistakes that would have been made and to correct our mistakes. Let me say this also, that there is no one political party that remains in power indefinitely within the Caribbean. And I'm talking about the Caribbean region. We see that. We see, if we are looking at our brothers and sisters across the waters, you look at, and I could make an example of Jamaica. In Jamaica, when I studied there, Jamaica, by my classmates, were told to me to be a PNP country. You understand? Having won the election for 18-year period. we recognize that in 2007, the JLP was successful in regaining government after an 18-year period of being in opposition. In 2011, the PNP then won again, and then in 2016 and 2020, the JLP. So what I am saying all of this to say is that we see that there is always a constant cycle where a party is successful, a party loses, and a party rebuilds to come back even stronger. We recognize that in 2015, the Labour Party received 3 seats. In 2020, they received 2 seats. They did the necessary restructuring, and based on the opportune time that was presented to them, they were successful at the polls. So I want to urge persons out there, and I think it's something that our leader has said before. It's always good to have opposition, and the People's Action Movement remains resolute. We congratulate the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, but we still consider ourselves as a very viable alternative.
Okay, so certainly you are telling the listening and viewing public the results of the election in no way signal the death knell of the People's Action Movement.
And I am saying that.
Very well. Okay, just to remind Craig before he speaks, in order for one to regain his deposit, he has to receive at least minimum 1/8 of the votes cast. The results show that in constituency number 3, the PAM candidate, Kervin Milo Box-Freeman, did not receive 1/8 of the votes cast.
How much did he get?
In constituency number 5, Statue Williams of the PLP did not receive 1/8 of the votes cast. In constituency number 6, the PAM candidate, Troy Flanders, did not receive 1/8 of the votes cast. In constituency number 7, PAM's candidate, David Pell, did not receive 1/8 of the votes cast. Neither did any of the candidates for the Movement for the Restoration of Morality in Nevis. They contested constituency 9 and 11. Neither did any of the 2 independent candidates in St. Kitts. We have Kalanji here and we have Carlton Jupong. Neither of them received 1/8 of the votes cast.
Yes. Well, first let me say thank you very much again to you, teacher and friend, brother, Mr. Michael Blake, former...
That's me.
Former
Yeah.
ambassador.
That's irrelevant. Carry on.
Former ambassador. Let me give you applause while you're doing it. Former ambassador,
I want to hear. Go ahead.
major educator. I mean, I can't say more about you. I mean, you.
That's what I like to hear.
You
I'm an educator.
And I won't be
End
lying.
of story.
I won't be lying. Of course, I got to thank the management and staff of ZIZ for affording us this platform, because it's important to have a democracy that is vibrant, and the media has to play a very vital role to ensure that we sustain that type of engagement and democratic freedom. But also, I would like to encourage the media to become more investigative in terms of their fact-finding, to ensure that what is said, whether it be on social media or even on the platforms, that the truth must hold them, the persons who are speaking to the general public and to the world, to hold them to the highest standard, to ensure that what they speak is indeed the truth. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the members of the panel, Kalanji, who I know very well, and also my senior. We went to school together at UWI, and so I look forward to see what the future holds. I would, truth be told, he'll be reminded that I did inform him what would have happened. I encouraged him in a particular way, if you recall, but I won't talk about that in public. That's between me and him. That's a little side note. Joke. So first, let me say that the People's Labour Party came in second. I want to make that lucidly clear in terms of the tallying of the votes. The People's Labour Party, a party who, for the first time, fielded all 8 candidates in a general election in St. Kitts, and it's important to know that we came second. It's also important to know that
a distant second, eh? Carry on.
Well, I would like to always say
second nonetheless.
Second nonetheless.
Yes.
You know,
But I would like, I don't want to break you.
No,
just a minute.
Based
Quickly.
on the perspective, because if we were looking at the number of seats, the People's Action Movement would have beaten the PLP in 5 of the 8 seats. So if we're looking based
5
on
of the 8 constituencies.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you. Carry on. Don't interrupt him again.
But I'm not going to
No more
disturb him. I'm
interruption.
going to
Right.
leave him.
I listened very
Yeah.
attentively.
It's my prerogative to allow that intervention. I want to know anymore.
Mr. Chair, thank you so much.
Carry on.
We came second. right? And it is important for you in your presentation, Mr. Blake, when you identify the amount of votes that were gained by the People's Labour Party. It was definitely more than the People's Action Movement. And as you said, we both came in a far distant second and third in regards to the number of votes that were gained by the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. So the total number of votes are important because it shows where nationally how the people feels about your particular campaign and your particular party, and of course your leadership. I would like to also state that though in the 2015 and 2020 general elections, the People's Labour Party fielded in 2015 two candidates, and we were unsuccessful in one, but in 2020 we fielded 2 candidates and we were successful in both. If you were to look at that as well in terms of a success rate, it shows that we have always had the affinity to gain the trust and the amount of votes that we need and support that we need to garner that type of respect as a new political party on this new platform.
So it is your proposition that the PLP has so far justified its existence?
Thank you. And that is something that is also important.
It's a question I have, not a statement.
I said, thank you, yes.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to also say, as I said when I was on the national television at the general elections watch night, the People's Labour Party was very instrumental in not only getting the People's Action Movement to government, having been in the, as I said, the political wilderness for 15 years, but we showed that through our existence and through our prowess in terms of leadership and political astuteness, we were able to, strengthen the People's Action Movement where they were weak. Not only in the 5 constituencies that they ran candidates for in 2015 and 2020, but it is evident now, because when you look at the numbers in all of the constituencies, that they would have lost, they would have seen where our candidates not only showed that type of support from the electorate in terms of the numbers that we gained, but it would have been even to their benefit if Team Unity had succeeded, because then we would not have been seeing the People's Action Movement in opposition with just 1 seat now. Now, again, I just want to make the point very clear. It was not the People's Labour Party who dismantled, destroyed the will of the people. They wanted Team Unity to succeed and to thrive, as it was doing. But we are nonetheless here, where we see now the opposition being made up of those same persons who destroyed the movement that the people wanted for themselves nationally. As Kalonji said, he wanted to see the unification of the people, and that is what Team Unity did, and that is what Team Unity offered, and that is what Team Unity campaigned on from 2012 up to 2020. Unfortunately, the people were disappointed, and now we see the people has responded. But I would just like to say in closing, and this is my opening remarks, the overall prospects of the People's Labour Party is very bright, because the voter turnout was very low. On average, and I did my calculations, it was about 64%. Now
You mean overall?
Overall.
No, 61.5.
61. See, sorry. Thank you so much. And so it shows, and if you were to take a consideration, take the highest voter turnout to be at 80. Let's say 80%. Let's say 80%.
Actually, it was 83%.
Thank you. So let's
in constituency number 2.
So let's take 80% in terms of the past history. That means there is a 10% of the voters who decided to stay home in total and abject pain and protests against what happened to their movement. And those are the ones that in the next election will make the determination as to who will truly be in opposition or who truly will be in governance in 2025.
Thank you. Now, I'm coming to you, Azad, but so you're stating, like Azad, that PLP is not going away.
Of course not.
Right, all right.
The people don't want it.
Now, I want to ask this question of each of you. To what extent do you think leadership, the role of the leadership, contributed to the results? In other words, did leadership play a role? A lot of people believe that the leadership of Labour played a major role in contributing to its success. Do you think that leadership played a role in your loss? That's one. And two, I'm asking you a direct question as two young men. Do you think that there is a possibility of PAM and PLP remarrying, even if it were to be on the condition that neither of the current leaders is around? In other words, if both leaders were to vacate the scene, do you think in the near or distant future there exists a possibility of PLP and PAM remarrying? But no, you're going to think about that for me to coming to you. We're going to open the lines after we hear from Izzard, and we're going to open the lines and we're going to invite the general public to contribute to this discussion. Izzard, you wanted to make a point.
Thank you. Yes,
and then I think Kalonji wanted to.
I don't mean to belabor the point, but and go back in the past, but there were some statements made by Craig which I don't think I should leave unchecked. In fact, if you're looking back at the history and the breakaway of the team unity, you recognize that our leaders on more than one occasion indicated that there was some undermining of certain persons within the union, and as such would have broken away from that. We recognize that they would have indicated, and I'm saying they would have indicated because I was not in Parliament. They came out, they made statements, they gave their messages, they provided evidence of not being able to give to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis what they had promised based on what was going on in that union, and they stepped away. Let me say too, he keeps saying that the People's Action Movement gained strength from the PLP. And if he is to say that the People's Action Movement gained strength from the PLP in the various seats, then he likewise should say that his PLP candidates, the seats that they won, would have received strength from persons who supported the People's Action Movement. Because we look in 2020, when Akila Byron won, it was the first time in the history that someone other than a Labour Party candidate had won, and she won, I think, by less than 100 votes. So and Pam was strongly behind Akila. And so we must say that the People's Action Movement contributed to that win. We understand too that in 2013, the former Prime Minister, Timothy Harris, he broke away from the Labour Party. We know that independent candidates are not usually well placed in elections. You said that.
Of course.
But Timothy Harris had the support of persons within the People's Action Movement. He has the support in number 7 as well. And if you're going to look at the support that was given to him over the years when Pam was with him, and compare to that now, you realize that his majority decreased, the margin of victory decreased. So if Craig is going to say that PLP contributed to the success of PAM, then I think he should also take credit that if he would say PAM contributed, PLP contributed to the success of PAM, then equally I think he should say that PAM assisted PLP in their wins as well.
Very well. Now remember, this is not a debate between PAM and PLP.
But I have to respond to that.
Just a minute. Do we have a caller?
But Mr.
All right. Yes, we're going to hear from Kalonji. Carry on.
But what I'm saying is, right, you hear the debate? Because what I'm saying is that, let me first congratulate the Labour Party. But what
you did that already.
Yeah, what I'm saying to you is that should not be our debate. Our debate is how to enhance the narrative and to move our people forward.
Precisely. Let's hear what this caller has to say. Hello, caller.
Mr. Blake?
Yes, ma'am.
This is Major Jones.
Oh, yes, sir. Sorry. My apologies.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How are you, sir?
I just wanted to say something, you know. We were dealing with in-pork leaders. You had a topic on that, ain't it?
Sorry, repeat that, please. I'm not hearing you too well.
I was saying that
Okay,
we were
good, yeah.
dealing
That's
with
better.
imperfect leaders. You hear me?
Yes.
Imperfect leaders.
Oh, imperfect leaders, definitely, yes.
Yes, what I am saying, that they're saying, the Bible is saying, that God ways are not our ways. We tend to equate leadership and lordship, right? We equate leadership with servanthood and want strength so we can help God. But then when I go down to below there, it said we are inclined to focus on personalities, to be impressed by the intellect of education. and the strength of leadership. Well, followers begin to believe that particular leaders can do no wrong, and such a relation, however, is nothing more than humanism, making human beings the measure of all things. What is worse, it is adultery, centering our devotion on our some and other than God. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that should be idolatry. I think he meant to say idolatry as opposed to adultery. Let's take another caller quickly. No? Yes? Yes, good morning.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
I think he's listening to the.
Sorry, no. Hello.
Yeah.
Don't listen to computer.
Do we have another caller? No. Yes, you wanted to say something
Yeah,
quick?
let me quickly-
And remember we don't want to sustain this line of
No,
discussion.
because I think I already dealt with that very clearly on radio and television when we had the Friday, the week before. So I just wanted to say that there are two things. Remember, St. Kitts has always been Labour country. So if you look at number 7 and the numbers, they can never say that the People's Action Movement assisted the Honourable Timothy Harris in number 7. If that was so, he would have lost. You might have said that they might have decreased, and that is true. You know why? Because a lot of people went back to Labour. If PAM had helped Timothy, then you would have seen PAM getting their votes, which they were not able even to do. So that's what's one thing. That's common sense. In relation to number 3, constituency number 3, we know that there was the issue of overseas voting, and also the issue of PAM, again, as seen in their candidate, wasn't able to even bring a number of votes. Even if they were to bring and add our votes with theirs, it couldn't even come to where we reached to in 2020. It meant that Labour people went back home.
Okay.
Labour people voted for PLP in Team Unity. And we need to understand that. That's the strength of the People's Labour Party. So you cannot say, and no one could come with truth in their heart, look at the numbers and say that PAM assisted. It was the other way around. So let me close off and answer the gentleman's, Major Jones. I would like to say, you see me, I am loyal to a point. I do not believe that there's any infallibility. I believe that there's, if you're going to make a choice of leaders and leadership, you have to be able to make the best choice out of the options that are before you, or what is the lesser evil. I'm not saying that persons cannot make mistakes. That is why I myself, coming from the bowels of Labour, left the Labour Party as the Secretary of East Bastia, as the youth leader at one time, as the youngest member of the executive of the union. And I decided that the party had lost its way, and I left.
Okay, let's take another call. We're going to take a few calls. I still wanted to address the question of the role of leadership. I wanted to address the question of whether you think there's a possibility for remarrying, and I wanted to answer the question, all three of you.
Well,
Do you think that the political culture, political literacy, I like to refer to it in St. Kitts, has benefited from as a result of the experience between 2020 and now? Do you think? Right, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's take this caller. Hello?
Of course.
We kept them waiting too long, I suppose.
Right. Of course.
Do we have a caller? Yes, let's take him or her, please. Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, good day.
Hardly. Barely.
I am listening, and the question about leadership. I don't think any of those who are there, your panel from the PLP and the PAM side, will openly say publicly they think that leadership played a role in the situation. They're not going to say it publicly, but the public and those who voted.
Yeah, leave it up to them to decide. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, when they would have listened, of course, leadership played a role. When you listen both sides, leadership played a role. But those who are there, they're not going to say about leadership playing a role openly. They will do that internally. It is left for the public now to say, yes, this area and that area in terms of leadership played a role. And really and truly, leadership played a big role in both sides. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's take another caller. Hello, caller.
Good morning, Mr. Blake.
Good morning, sir.
And to your panel.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to know, right, given hindsight, 2020, we know it's 2020.
Definitely.
But would any of the parties have done things differently if they knew that this was going to be the outcome? And secondly, what do they think was the turning point when they lost the support of the public, of the voters? And finally, we all know that usually when parties lose, there are always calls for replacing leadership. Do they think that that option is open to them right now, or are they at a loss as to, or afraid of what might happen if they remove the leaders of their party, their respective parties right now? Those are the questions.
Okay, now, we have another caller? Because I'd like to give some historical background with respect to that. Yeah, let's take one more caller. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes. In reference to leadership, okay, both parties, PLP and PAM, their leadership was poor. They was not popular. Timothy Harris was not popular, and Sean Richards was not popular. Okay? And so, yes, indeed, they need a change in leadership. But however, I want to address something that Craig Tuckett says, right? Because he wants to give this false impression that PLP in a stronger position than the People's Action Movement. But in fact, PLP really do not have a base. They really do not have a base. Labour have a base, PAM have a base. The people that voted for PLP is the people who were with the concoction, with the unity concept before. And these PAM people are going to come back home.
Okay.
They're going to come back home.
Okay.
So PLP really don't have no base.
All right then.
They don't have no base. Okay, and that's all I want to say. And even look at Timothy Harris. Not overcame over 1,200 vote deficit from 2020 to 2022.
Okay.
And if Timothy Harris do not resign, Natta will beat him in the next election. So he gonna resign because he don't want to be embarrassed. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, of course, that's his opinion. He cannot speak so definitively that Dr. Harris is going to do this or going to do that. Certainly not. That's just an opinion, and I'm sure there are many others who may agree and many others who do not agree. We have another caller? Okay, just to remind you guys, the leader of the People's Action Movement ran in 1975 and lost. He ran in 1980 and won, and he kept winning until 1993. 1993, he won a marginal victory. He ran again in 1995 and lost. He ran again in 2000 and lost, and never ran again. Denzel Douglas has won his seat every single time, unlike Dr. Simmons, who lost his seat, like I said, and did not win again after 2 consecutive losses. But after Denzel Douglas led his party into 2 defeats in 2015 and 2020, he was replaced as leader. That's the trend. That's what's happening at the moment.
He was forced out.
In fact, Lee Moore, if you go back to Lee Moore led the Labour Party to elections in 1980 and lost, and 1984 and lost, and did not run again in 89. By 89, Dr. Douglas was the leader.
Right.
So what we're seeing is that after 2 losses, 2 consecutive losses, not one, but 2 consecutive losses, the leader steps aside. We are yet to see if that will obtain for both of your parties.
Right.
And so that's why I asked the question earlier. Do you see what is the role of leadership? And in answering that question, you might want to address the question of removing leaders, as Mr. McMahon suggested, as a result of a loss. So I just pointed out that has not happened after 1 loss. And the question of are we marrying? Who wanted to start?
I don't even count this as a loss. Really.
Okay, you don't consider that a loss?
No, not at all.
That's interesting. Repeat that.
Because
the PLP does not consider this
a
loss.
Not at all. Because of the circumstances in terms of what we found. This was a election that was forced upon the people. by the move, as our only living national hero said, by the move of the leader of the People's Action Movement, and the fear and the reasoning, the rationale behind that move, as was said and articulated, which I find to be so sad, that if he did not move as he did, there would be no more PAM. So that is to answer the gentleman who called earlier.
Right.
Because I don't understand why he would say that, when in turn, the leader or the historical leader and founder of the People's Action Movement said, why, if he didn't move this way, we would have no PAM. So that shows me alone, and that's the answer for it. I left that there with him. But secondly, the reason why I would say this is not a loss is because we were and had to mobilize in 3 months. This was something based on the historical fact that we were forced to remain small. We were forced not to go out because it was feared that we would, as it was.
When you say that 3 months to mobilize, what do you mean?
In terms of from the time when the firing of the 6
Then all 3 parties had the same time to mobilize?
And then
none had an advantage.
They said they had a base. They said that they had a base. They said that they had 5.
No, all right. Let's look ahead. Let's look ahead, quick.
No, I'm trying to respond, if you're going to let me. They said
Yeah,
they had a base, and they said that they had 5 candidates, right? But let me go back to the point. The point is, the leadership is not in question for the People's Labour Party.
Okay.
And let me say why. We have a leader who has not and has never lost his seat, right? We have a leader who, for the first time, under extenuating circumstances, faced the electorate for the first time with a full slate, in short order. And we have a leader who, it cannot be denied, under his leadership as Prime Minister, the country was running good. As the new Prime Minister said, the country is in good economic standing. And that is because he would have found it in the way it is. So we have a track record. We also have got the second amount of votes, the second total amount of votes in our general elections. So that is our base. That is our base, and it will be grown and continue to be growing consistently. And as any political party will face, the fact of having persons who will leave, having persons who will come, having persons who will not know whether or not they will want to consider this political party and become a full-fledged member, that's something that we will always face. But we have a definite base, and our future is bright because of this election coming in second in a very short time.
Okay.
Okay, let me say, Craig talked about the 3 months. As you rightfully said, all the other parties had the same amount of time to prepare after the firing. Let me say, too, that the PLP had an advantage over the People's Action Movement and even over the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party and all other parties in St. Kitts, considering the independent candidates as well, in the fact that they had the resources of government.
Incumbency always has that
Yes,
advantage.
and so they had government resources.
We don't use that.
And so that is a situation that
What does that mean?
would not be the same coming in the next election. In terms of leadership, our leader, from since his start in politics, has always been successful in winning his seat. We realized that there were certain dynamics at play in this election. It is something for our leader to consider. It is something for the People's Action Movement to consider. But as it stands, I think that our leader is best positioned to lead our party.
Okay. In fact, is that, if I may tell you this now on radio, I have heard your name being mentioned as a potentially capable replacement. Maybe not immediately, but certainly in the future. So just bear that in mind. There are persons out there who look at you favorably in that respect. Karanji, question of leadership and so on.
But you hear the debate about leadership, right? Now, in the African tradition, we need collective leadership. Should we have this colonial Westminster system that has been thrust upon us? That's why we can't find our way. You see what I'm saying? And what I'm trying to show you is that we gotta get rid of this colonial system here, otherwise we ain't gonna get no problem solved. We got to start to look at ourselves as a people, not only here in St. Kitts, but throughout the whole Western world. That we are a nation of people. All of us went through the same experience. We were kidnapped from Africa, brought here to produce wealth. You understand? For the colonial masters. So I'm saying to you, what you see what is taking place in the world is an attack upon progressive and black people. Right now in the United States, the socialists, the African Socialist Party in the United States was raided by the FBI. I'm saying to you, when you see the...
Yeah, well, Trump was there too.
Yes, but what I'm trying to show you is that, remember Dr. King was killed, Malcolm was killed, Paul Robeson was harassed. What I'm trying to show you, there's a new Cold War taking place. Our people got to understand our relationship to what is happening globally.
Yeah, but Kalonji, you know, to be honest and accurate, what is happening on the mother continent, which gave birth to civilization, as we all know, is not very pretty.
I agree, but what I'm trying to show you, all what is happening on the continent, and even here in the West, is a result of imperialism.
So what is the recipe for overcoming?
The recipe for that is globally Pan-Africanism and locally African nationalism. We have to come together as a people.
Mm-hmm. So why?
We need a blueprint here at home. It doesn't matter who the people in power are. We need a blueprint where it's saying this is our guideline. Whoever in power got to follow this guideline.
Right, but why? What is really? I'm gonna get responses from both of you in a minute. But what is the essential factor? What is the quintessential variable here that is keeping us apart for so long and so well?
The colonial system.
It has done an extremely good job in keeping us apart, quote unquote. Apart from just talking and spouting rhetoric, how tangibly, in a concrete manner, demonstrably, how can we begin to deal with that, to correct that? Give me in a second, I mean a minute. Give me that answer in a minute.
One word. We got to get rid of this colonial system and re-educate our people.
And so if your party were to win the next election, you would definitely begin that process, well, continue that process or strengthen or expedite that process.
Exactly, and we will let the Labour Party do that too.
Right. Let's hear from
I'm trying to
because
gather what he's saying. Are you saying that there should be no opposition?
But we have to reach that point. When we came in the slave ship, there was no opposition.
I believe that there always should be some sort of opposition, so we could have persons always, you know, those in power always. There's a check and balance of the.
But history proves that opposition, by and large, serves a useful function. Yeah.
So as a trained lawyer, and one who has studied the laws and the reason why society is what it is, I think that.
But could I ask you?
No. Let him finish.
I think that the structure we have in place promotes democracy. I think that in any environment there should be room for dissenting opinions and views, because sometimes dissenting opinion and views, and you look in case law, sometimes that becomes the precedent and the new reasoning. So I think there's always room for discussion. I don't think anyone has a monopoly on ideas, or any party has monopoly on ideas. There should be room for opposition and improvement, checks and balances.
Okay, Craig, and then we go back to the phone line because we have some people waiting.
Yeah, you need to have a more. We can have this kind of.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. That is absolutely certain. That's
so I will defer to the callers.
Okay, let's take this caller. Thank you. Yes, caller. My apologies for keeping you waiting so long, but carry on. Hello? Let's take another one then.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
What I'm saying that...
Yeah, make it quick this time around, please. Make it real quick. Mm-hmm.
Yes, with this imperfect leadership, it is all idolatry, you know. These people believe in certain people, you know, and because of that, the leaders them fall. They fall, and it is how they fall under the pedestals, which is a statue. They believe in Mr. X and Mr. Y, and then because they're saying that the person like them, and they continue doing something.
Okay.
That's where they fall.
All right.
They fall, they failure.
Yeah, thank you. Let's take another caller. Hello?
Good morning, Mr. Blake.
Good morning, sir.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Carry on quickly because we're running out of time.
Yes, I'm a bit disturbed having to hear the voice echoing of Kalanji saying we have to think about moving on to build, to be progressive, and he's sitting there and saying, oh, they don't have to be no opposition. The divine law speak of opposition. What is he talking about, John Jeffers? What are you talking about? Have a good day.
Thank you. Let's take another caller. Hello. Okay. Well, it seemed like that was the last opportunity for calls because we are going to use the last couple of minutes for each panelist to give his views. So thank you, callers. But unfortunately, we are out of time for callers. In the next few minutes, 1 minute each for Kalonji Azad, and Craig to sum up. We apologize for the brevity of time. Okay?
What Granny said, free the land, we need to get rid of this colonial system. What Granny said, plant weed for the cannabis industry. What Granny said, support your own. You understand? We as a people, look what's going on. Other people coming here dominating our economy. You're talking about democracy. Come on, man. We people got to get real. African liberation is the only solution to this pollution.
Thank you.
Okay, I wish to thank all who supported the democratic process and the elections, regardless of political affiliation. I think that shows that our St. Kitts and Nevis is strong when it comes to being a democratic country. I know that there were some fears about disruptions and it being one that is peaceful. I am satisfied with the way in which elections were conducted. So I want to also thank those who voted for the People's Action Movement. I want persons to know that the People's Action Movement, as our song says, is here and here to stay. I want to say also again, congratulations to the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, because that is what democracy is all about. Listening to the voice of the people and hearing those voices through the ballots.
Thank you. Craig,
Yes,
last
thank
word.
you. I'd like to also say, on behalf of the People's Labour Party, we'd like to congratulate first, our fourth Prime Minister, the Honourable Dr. Drew, and his team, his cabinet, for success at the polls. I would like to also thank all of you who would have been supporting the People's Labour Party and those who would have voted and cast their vote for People's Labour Party candidates in all the constituencies. As a matter of fact, all of our candidates went around with their PA systems going into their constituencies, thanking them for their support. And that is the type of leadership that we provide, showing our gratitude to the people and understand that you lend us your vote and we will not fail you. We will always be there for you. In terms of our leadership and our party's thrust for the future, we will be continuing to going out. We'll continue to be a viable opposition to ensure that the people's agenda is indeed achieved, and that we will continue to ensure that we are present for the next upcoming elections in 2025 or earlier, so that we will see greater things for the people of St. Kitts.
Right, and that should be 2027, not 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a leader here of the United Lemigo Party. And I want to put it to you that you're looking at two potential leaders, one for the People's Action Movement and one for the People's Labour Party. Who knows? These two might be the ones who lead a remarriage of those two parties. Thank you very much for being a part of Frank and Candid today. We appreciate your participation. We look forward to doing it again. Until tomorrow then, be good.